Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we are going to continue linked list, and in today's lecture we are going to cover more about single linked list, where we are going to discuss the operation which we can perform on it. First one is insertion or add. Second one is deletion, and third one is traversal. Okay, so in today's lecture, we are going to cover about insertion. Now, this is a linked list. As usual, we are going to take three nodes where the first node will contain A, second node will contain B, and the third node will contain C. Let us take the addresses. We are just assuming the addresses. A will be 100. Let's take B as 101. C as 102, and this will be pointing to null, right? And our head will contain the reference of A, which is going to be 100, right? Because the address of A is 100 here, right? So now we are going to discuss about insertion. Now, where can we insert in this whole linked list? Maybe I I can want to insert in the beginning. I want to insert a new node here. Or maybe I can want to insert a new node here in the end. Or maybe I will want to insert a node in between of any two nodes, right? Maybe here or here, anywhere. Correct? So there will be three insertion topics which we are going to cover. To insert a node in beginning, to insert a node in end, and to insert in between, right? So let us first understand how to insert a node in starting. Okay, we are also going to learn it through points. We know we want to insert a new node here, correct? In the beginning. Let's take a new node first. Let's assume the new node is X, and the reference of the new node is 200. We are just assuming it, okay? New node reference is 200. This is a new node, a completely new node which we want to insert in the beginning. What we will do? What will be the second node of this? For now, this is null. Okay, for now, this is null. Now we want to insert it in this linked list. What we want to do? Since we want to insert it in the beginning and we want this linked list to be connected, right? So instead of null, it should point to this node. Yes or no? I'll repeat this again. Instead of null, it should point to A, right? Then it will work as a linked list. We will go to A, X will point to A will point to B will point to C. This is how it should work, right? So if instead of null, if we store 100 here, now it is pointing to A, correct? Now, in my previous lecture, we learned what is head. Head is the entry point in the linked list. Correct? Entry point in the linked list. Where is our head pointing to right now? Head is pointing to 100, which is A. But now we have changed our entry point, correct? Our entry point is X now. So what should head store? Head should store instead of 100, it should store 200. Correct. So let us just write it down in points. What was the first point? What did we do? We created a new node. Correct. We created a new node. That was the first task which we did. We created a new node which is X. Now, what was the second task? We pointed this null to head. Yes or no? New node pointed to head. And what was the third task which we did? Third task was now we need to change the head pointers also, right? Now head is pointing to new node, correct? So now we will go through this once again. If you understand this beginning, no, the end will be cherry on cake. Oh, okay. So now again, what we did, we created a new node. We created a new node, correct? Which is X, for example, null. We will take only one node here, okay? We will take just A. A contains the reference to B and B is, for example, 101 and the reference of A is 100. Now, where is 100 stored? 100 is stored is in head, correct? Which is 100. What should we do? X should point to A, right? X should point to A because this is what we want as a linked list. So if it should point to A, what should we do? We should point it to 100. And where is 100 stored? 100 is stored in head. So we are pointing new node to head. This point is done. Correct. Now what is the third point? Now head is the entry point in the linked list. Correct. So now head should point to X. Right. So we will do head is equals to whatever the reference of X is. For example, we are taking 200. I hope I was able to make it clear. Now we will go how to insert a node in the end. Okay, how to insert a node in the end. Now we have this node, correct? This is first pointing to null. We will take another new node. Okay, for example, our new node is this one. Again, I'm taking y. Y, for example, the reference address of y is 300. First, we will traverse. We will traverse from A, we will go to B, from B, we will go to C. Now, once we have arrived at C, we know instead of null, where should it point? Because we have one another node here, right? So, instead of null, it should point to Y, correct? So, instead of null, we will store here 300, the address of Y node, correct? So, now Y will contain null. So now how it will look like? A will point to B, B will point to C, and C will point to Y. So why was C containing null previously? Because there were no next node. Correct, but now we want to insert Y node. So instead of null, C will store the reference of next node, which is 300 in this case. Okay. Now, we will come how to insert a node in between. Okay, we will take these three examples. Again, the same examples. Okay, we will again create one another node, a new node. For example, now I want to insert here between A and B. This is Z node. For now, it is containing null by default, and the reference we will take as 300. Okay, now here we can see A is pointing to B and B is pointing to C. Correct? A is pointing to B, but B is pointing to C. But what do we want? We want A should point to Z and then Z will point to B and B will point to C. Correct? This is the result which we want. What we can do is, what is this 101? Just try to understand. What is this 101? 101 is reference of B, right? 101 is address of B. But what do we want? We want A should point to the reference of Z, correct? So instead of 101, what should A store? It should store 300, right? So now A is pointing to Z, right? Now, what is Z pointing to? Z is pointing to null, right? But Z should point to B. And what is the reference of B? 101. So instead of null, it will store 101. Now Z is also pointing to B now. Correct? So you see what just we did here? What we did? What we did? We, instead of A was pointing to B, right? What we did? Now A is pointing to Z and Z is pointing to B. Right? So now instead of B's reference, we stored Z reference and now Z is storing the reference of B. I'll explain this once again so that you get it clearly. Again, we will take just two examples, okay? And now this new node. This is A101, B101, and it is storing something, and this is Z. Now it is storing null and the address is 300. Okay. Let me just write it 102 here also. So now what do we want? We want now A is pointing to B, correct? 101. What is stored in 101? It is B. But what do we want? We want A should point to Z. Correct? A should point to Z. So instead of 101, what it should store? It should store 300. Correct? Now we want Z to point to B. So instead of null, it should store the reference, the address of B, which is 101. So now it is done, right? We will understand it in a more clear way in upcoming videos where we are going to code it in Python. Okay, so this was it for this video. In the next video, we will learn how to delete in nodes. Okay, how to delete in linked list. So that's it, guys. So if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.